this. Okay, once more that I'm really grateful that today in this afternoon we have an opportunity to take our class here, meeting in our basic English lessons class with you all, and I also have received and also as read as well your talks that you have sent to our um, WhatsApp groups, and I think that we have learned together. We have from the audio file that I've sent previously, or talking about the preferences. So today we will focus on the topic of preferences, the choices that probably will be offered to us during the conversations in our daily life, or even the choice that we have to make in the futures. So first of all, I need to re let we try to hear again the audio files that we have learned previously together. Hopefully you can hear us.
Imagine that you are at a restaurant for breakfast. You want something to drink, but you are not sure what. When the server walks over to your table, he says,
Let me help. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
So that's kind of the questions that we may find it in cafeteria, or in even in our daily conversations, like whether a kind of food, a kind of drink that we like to eat, or next we will also talk about something very specific than just only food, or a kind of a hobby.
you answer,
I prefer tea to coffee.
you just told the server about a general preference.
So that is general
The server
preference.
then makes a few suggestions about the teas available. When we are given choices, there are special phrases we use to say which thing we like more than another. We
Yeah.
call these choices preferences.
So preferences is actually
In our
choices.
program today, we will show you how to use general and specific preferences.
The archetype,
We
general
have
and
different
specific.
phrases for each. To begin, let's look at general preferences.
So general
A
preferences.
general
first.
preference is something you like more as a whole. It is not tied to a specific event or time.
So that is the specific characteristic of general preferences. It is that you like more as a whole. So it is not tied, or it is not dependent on your different situations. So in any kind of situation, anytime, your choice will be the same. So that's kind of general preferences. It will be specific differently with specific preferences later. So let me show you the next slide. So for examples, during the conversations, or when you interact with your friends, and then someone offer you, which do you prefer, sushi or fried rice? So this kind of also choices that you have to respond to it. So someone asks you about your food preferences, whether you like sushi, like Japanese cuisine, or fried rice, like Indonesian cuisines. For me, when I was in Japan for 4 years, I firstly loved to eat it. Like in the first month when I stayed in Japan, so I tried to I have tried to eat it. Then I just considered that was not my food preferences. So particularly the taste is quite weird, and it's not kind of my yeah, my type. It's not kind of my preferences. It isn't suitable with my tongues. So I don't like it. So in every party, when I attended a party, like a kind of uh, you know there were many parties in my laboratory. So they, for example, when they finish their semester or they finish the research, and they will hold a party, and then they will invite us, and sometime also like a welcoming party for the new students or the new lot members from another university, and also a kind of farewell party also when, for example, we graduated from the university. So they will have a party, and Japanese party, it's kind of different kind of party. It's compared with our you know our usual party, because they love to spend a lot of time in the party. They start a party like 6 in the afternoon, and then it may sometime eat up like 12. Yes, a kind of 12 0 em, or even 1 em in midnight. So it's quite long party, and they talk, eat, and drinks, and drinks, eat, talk. So they will very aggressively consume such a food. And unfortunately for me as a Muslim, for example, and also as Indonesians with a very particular taste in food preferences. So I just love you know to spend a short time in the party. Like, okay, I think 2 or 3 hours in the party is enough. We don't have to spend a lot of time, like whole night with them. And of course, because I am a Muslim, so I don't drink alcohol. So I just drink juices, and even I just drink mineral water. And also particularly about the food itself, they just offer kind of this one, like something with a very different taste. It's compared with our cuisines, like sushi. It's quite bitter, and sometimes combined with something sour, because and sushi is not completely processed food. It's kind of a half raw, so it's quite different taste. So when I was asked which kind of food that that I prepare, then I consider eating bread rice by myself, because they couldn't prepare it. So I said that I prepare bread rice to sushi. I'm so sorry. I appreciate they offer me such a very important to appreciate it, to say thanks for such a luxurious food but fancy menu. But I'm sorry, I don't like it. And you also may have a different kind of preference in like your daily life and watching movie. So which do you prefer, for example, Indonesian movie or like Western movie? So in case of me, it had been a long time ago. I stopped watching Indonesian movie because it's just kind I just okay, I appreciate a kind of this one, but in general, there are only several, or maybe we can count it with our fingers, the number of Indonesian movie with that is worth to watch. But for like Stranger Things in Netflix, I love it so much that it's a serial TV that that is very interesting, intriguing. So I'd love to watch it. So when someone asks you which do you prefer, like FTV, for example, in our Indonesians, or sinetron we call it, or Stranger Thing, for example. So of course, I prefer Stranger Thing to like FTV. It's kind of preferences, and also uh, about the music preferences. So we also have a particular tendency to uh, for the music preferences. We love traditional, or we love Western movie. You love, Western music. You love jazz, for example, or even you love dangdut. So, for example, let me try to open it. Hopefully, it won't be error, because previously it's quite error when I try. So it's kind of, in West Sumatra, we are so familiar with this kind of the music. This is a traditional music. I mean, it's a local song. But you may also love this one, for example. So this is from South Sumatra. So people from South Sumatra will notice this kind of the traditional music only use only they play this music only by single guitar only. There is no another instrument, just kind of that guitar, and then they will sing it. It's kind of a traditional music as well. So many people had to listen it, but also many people love to watch it. It's kind of the preferences. And you may also love listen to the classic music, like instrumental music, like Mozart, for example, and Bach, and also Paganini. So I also love to listen to kind of that instrumental music. And even you may also love download, for example. So, for example, this music, I don't know what is it. Okay, so it's kind of yeah, the quite popular music is in your era, but like a Kalim Scott, it's quite a very it is interesting to listen it. So it's kind of your preferences whether you love a traditional music, and sometimes you may find your friends love to listen downloads, and we should appreciate it. It's about their preferences, so we couldn't judge them by their preferences. We are different and try to appreciate in every kind of differences. So that's kind of the preferences. Someone may ask you about your food preferences and your tendency to watch a movie, which kind of the movie you do not much, or your music preferences, or in another context, you may be asked about your preferences and or aspiring your higher degree, for example. So probably it's really really plausible in the futures you will have the opportunity to study in a two different kind of to take your master degree or PhD degree in a reputable university, a world class university like this. So it's kind of your preferences, specific, very specific preferences. Whether you will study in Harvard University, or for example, or you will choose National University of Singapore or Nanyang Technological University Nanyang Technological University, for example, NTU or NUS. So it will be stand on a different context if you are offered between your food preferences, your kind of daily life, daily choices, and this your preferences in aspiring your higher degree in university. So here, let me try to explain about the context of difference between general and specific preferences. So what is general preference? It's something that is your common like, as we have heard from the audio file explained it by the narrators. It's something that is your common like. So it's your common like your hobbies, it's swimming, for example, running, or is playing football, watching movie. It's kind of your daily preferences, and it is not tied to specific event or time. So that's kind of the particular characters of it. It's not tied to a specific event or time. Like your food preferences will be never changed by for example different times. So it's very nature of you, your hobbies, your food preferences, that is generals. But that specific is something you like or want more at a given point. So in time, so for examples like previously I have showed you about your preference, the choices whether you will study in Harvard University for a master degree or in a National University of Singapore. That's kind of the specific preferences. So the definition of specific preferences is something you like or want more at a given point in time. So it could be depend on time or situations, and it could change. So it's kind of the conditionals. So depend on situations, depend on conditions, your preferences may be changed. So let's start from general preferences here. So the formula is when you want to express about your preferences in general preferences, you may use this kind of formula: the prefer plus noun to plus noun. Or in another options, you may use this formula like plus noun plus better than plus noun. So here, for example, uh, so the meaning of general preferences is to like or to express your preferences, to like something more than something else. So in this context, you will express about noun, not the verb, not the activities, but noun like food, music, or hobbies. It's kind of noun, not the kind of the verb. So to like something more than something else. So here, for examples, I prefer biochemistry to genetics. So biochemistry, I prefer here. This is a prefer. This is a prefer, and I prefer than noun. Biochemistry is noun, and then to genetic. And then you may also express it. I like listening jazz better than singing dangdut. So listening jazz, it's kind of noun. It's gerund, right? If you, I bet you have learned about gerund during your senior high schools. So I like listening jazz. You may use this. I like listening jazz as noun, and then better than singing dangdut. So it's kind of noun. So listening jazz and singing dangdut, that's kind of your preferences, your common preferences, or biochemistry, genetic. Or you may also express it like I prefer listening jazz to singing dangdut, or just simply I prefer jazz to dangdut. That will be also expressed in a simple way. That's kind of general. So like this one also, I prefer rendang to sandwich. That is a particular mine. So I love eating rendang instead of consuming that kind of Western diet like sandwich. So here you will express it. I prefer rendang to sandwich. That is mean your preferences is tend to eat to consume rendang. You love rendang much than sandwich, or I like eating rendang better than sandwich. So here, if your a kind of noun is the same, you may erase it. So don't make it look kind of the repeated written. I like eating rendang better than eating sandwich. So you don't have to put eating in the next sentence, in the next part of such sentence. I like eating rendang better than sandwich. So or I like rendang to sandwich. I prefer rendang, for example. I prefer rendang to sandwich, or I like eating rendang better than sandwich. That's kind of so if kind of that noun is the same, then you will try to erase a kind of this. Just put it in one part only, like eating. You don't have to repeat it kind of the eating. And that is general preferences. It's well express about your choices, your preferences with something general, non-specific, like your hobbies, your kind of food preferences, music preferences. That is not tied to the situations, and it's kind of common of you, the characteristic of you. But for the specific preferences, for example, here, after graduate, whether you will, prefer to stay at home with your family, or you will work. For example, women sometimes, like women after upon graduation, they will be confused in order to decide whether they will, be household like a housewife, for example, or they will aspire their dreams in working in it, they're taking a job. So it's kind of specific preferences. So here, for examples, so type of the preferences, the formula to express it, you may use would prefer plus infinitive. So what is infinitive? This is two plus verb one. So here, for examples, what is the meaning of kind of this specific preferences? Quite different with previous to general preferences. The specific preferences type 2 is to describe the present and future preferences. It's about your present and future preferences, describing it. So here, I would prefer to study in Harvard. So you it is mean your tendency will be studying to choose to study in Harvard. So I would prefer to study in Harvard. And remembers that we also could contract this I would to be ought. So I in this context should be I, not I have, but I would. So I'd prefer to study in Harvard. Here another sentence in the positive. This is also positive. I would prefer to stay with you. And this one, I prefer not to stay with you. So please notice about this about the negative sentence. We don't put the would not after would, but we put not in this negative context after prefer. So after prefer, I prefer not to stay with you. And for the interrogative sentence, would you prefer to stay with me? That's kind of would you prefer to stay with me? So we just put the would in the first part of such sentence. So this is the type 2 that will describe the present and future preferences without any without expressing of another choices like only study in Harvard. It's kind of your tendency. But for the type 3, the specific also it's so the formula is quite different. So it is used to describe that to want to do one thing more than another thing in the present or futures. So it backs the verb also, but you compare it with another, I mean. So the formula is would prefer plus infinitive and then rather than and verb one. So infinitive, verb 1 plus 2. So like this one, I would prefer to stay with my parents rather than go to abroad. So remember this one, I would prefer and then infinitive to verb 1 to stay with my parents rather than go to abroad, rather than verb 1. So remember about it. If you want to express about your preferences in doing something more than another thing, so this means that you will you decide you will be stay with your parents instead of going abroad. And so this kind of story of mine. So for example, I will prefer to go back to Indonesia. So upon graduate from my PhD degree in Japan in teaching medical school, actually I had the opportunity to aspire the postdoc. So it's kind of the we work as scientists, right? But in after you graduate from your PhD, then you may continue to postdoc. This means postdoc. So postdoc, you will be researching, and you will perform research in under the supervising of the professors in this kind of lab. So actually, when I was graduated at 2017. So during the 2016 year before that, my former co-supervisors, I mean, he is a professor in Fukushima Medical University. He actually worked previously for several years, kind of 10 or probably 12 years in Oxford University of Oxford, in genetic laboratory. And then before I arrived in Japan to see, he came to Japan, back to Japan, and decided to stay in Japan and to be professors in Fukushima Medical University. And then he actually offered me to take an opportunity to take a postdoc in Oxford, because he has a close relationship with the professors in the University of Oxford in genetic laboratory. But I consider K, but I just So in this context, I would prefer to go back to Indonesia rather than take a postdoc in Oxford. It's kind of the expressions that is relevant for such situations because, yeah, I have stayed in Japan for 4 years, and that's quite that was stressful for me. Staying abroad, far away from your family, and you were single. I was single at that time, so I wasn't married yet at the time. So I just decided to return back to Indonesia and start my family and married, and then having my baby, and that's starting my life, enjoying my life until now. So I consider that is the better choice of mine because when I, for example, moved to University of Oxford in UK, yeah, it's quite kind of great experience, but I may suffer from there, just kind of depression of that. So I decided I would prefer to go back to Indonesia upon graduations rather than take a postdoc in Oxford. So an alternative way, we may also use this kind of expressions with this would rather or would prefer. So would rather plus verb one, then verb one, or would prefer. Remember, every time you use prefer, you have to use infinitive or two plus verb one. So here, for example, I would rather chat than call by phone, and or I would prefer to chat than call by phone. The meaning is the same, that your preferences tend to chatting instead of calling by phone. So I would prefer to chat. It's different only in the structures itself. When you use rather, then directly use a verb one. But when you use prefer, then you have to use infinitive. Prefer to chat. And this is the kind of the funny meme you see in internet that I'd rather kill adults than children. Then the teacher said, "What's wrong with the sentence?" So this person said this adult, adult. So yeah, it's not the correct one, right? Adult. You don't put this one apostrophe here. That's just adult to express the plural of adult. So I'd rather kill adults than children. So, but if you change it then to be then, it will be the different context, not kind of that preferences, right? So it's kind of sequence situation. So after you kill the adult, then you will kill the children. Different with the preferences. So here, for examples, the sentence should be, I'd rather kill adults than children. Rather kill adults than children. So remember, if you use the same word, the same verb, for example, same situation like kill, you don't have to repeat it again in the next part of such sentence. I'd rather kill adults than children. I prefer to kill adults than children. So when you use prefer, then use to. I'd rather kill, prefer to kill. And then I'd rather kill adults than kiss them. So, or I prefer to kill adults than kiss them. Rather than if you use prefer to. I'd rather kill adults than kiss them. So when you use a different context, different verb, for example, then you said you should write it again. Kill, kiss is different with this one, kill and kill. And this is the latest type of preferences. So the type 1, like general preferences, and type 2, type 3 is specific preferences. That's all about your own preferences. So your own preferences, but different with this specific preferences type 4, it is about to express, to describe our preferences for the actions of another person. So it is about another person, not our preferences of ourselves. So here, remember, the formula is would, then of prefer, and object pronouns, then infinitive. So this formula would prefer object pronouns. This kind, you don't add the verb or infinitive here, but you add an object pronoun, someone, or about that the indicators of a pronoun for someone or something. And please remember that it is our preference to the actions of another person. So here the sentence: I would prefer him to sit up. So I would prefer him to sit up instead of speak continuously. Or I would prefer him not to sit up. Or in negative one, would you prefer him to sit off? So it is about your preferences about another person's. It's not you, but you prefer him or her to sit up. That is kind of explanations about this basic preferences that you may uh, you know have such a situation, such a preferences that you may express it in conversations with your friends in your daily life and about your general and specific preferences. So I think that's all the explanations by my additional explanations about the preferences. Then hopefully you could also understand about it, or when you will use the general preferences sentence and when you will use the specific preferences, but about yourself, your own preferences, or about your preferences to not, your expectations on another person's, like the largest type of one that you prefer him to set up. So that's kind of many type of the preferences here. Then you may use it and kind of your conversations with your friend or your polls and your daily life with different expressions. So I think since this is the last time we meet in these lectures in English basic lessons, so there are two topics that we have learned. The first is about conditional sentence, and today we learn about the preferences, and we have also learned about the formula, about the general preferences and also the specific preferences, and we also have learned about the formula how to compose the sentence in conditional sentence like type 0, type 1, and mixed type. So there are many types of the conditional sentence, and hopefully that you will you know increase your motivations to learn by yourself and practice it by yourself, and also try to speak with your friends, or even practice it with you by listening to your own voices or by watching movie, and also many kind of activity that will make you be totally involved in learning this language, because any kind of language, even in our traditional language like a Minang language, you will be very fluent in speaking such a language, even it's not your mother tongue, it's not your native language, but you will be fluent in speaking such a language as long as you practice it by yourself, and you try to motivate yourself to be live with such a language, practice it, use it in your daily life. For example, in me, whenever like this one, for example, I love to write my schedule here, so I write it in English, for example. So yeah, it will. And also sometimes also make like a daily note, like what I have to do within my daily life this here, like I uh, write it in English, then I try to spell it. So it's a kind of the way, yeah, an alternative way to improve my grammar and also my vocabulary and also my fluency in pronounce such a language. So the best way for me for improving my listening proficiency in my speaking is by watching English speaking movie, and that's really improve my proficiency. And I believe that this is a very basic English lessons. Consider that is not enough for you, so you have to take the higher levels of English lessons, and probably next semester you will take the quite, it's not a kind of advanced, but it is a like a biological English lessons, kind of that you combine the biology with the English lesson. So you will learn about the English, but in the context of biology. So your topic will be like composed of that kind of paragraphs describing about biological science. So that's is kind of your future study in English in our department. But you will also have the opportunity to interact with foreign people, and also to involve in English study club, or even join in an online course. There are many or plenty kind of online courses available for us to improve. Yeah, I think that's all for you know that my latest uh my latest work for you. I think in order to motivate you, I hope that you will be proficient, more proficient, and improve your English as well. I noticed that in your class there are many students having a very high, very great pronunciations, and I think that's kind of. That you will take something benefit from such a capability, like flying scholars say, and then after that you will apply your job upon graduate from biology department, or you may uh, study abroad. So it's not enough for you only with TOEFL score less than 600. So the standard TOEFL, this is kind of the baseline for if you want to study like in America, in USA, or even Europe. 550 is not enough for you, so you need to increase your level to upper than 550. And as well, you also have to learn how to express, because when you study abroad, you need to speak in such a language and very well. So thank you very much for your attention. And regarding our final exams, so probably I will provide the questions and the quizzes. So using applications and the quizzes that kind of the multiple choices, or even very short sentence, and then you will determine whether this kind of that what kind of this conditional sentence, or if you are asked to transform such sentence from type 1 conditional sentence to type 2 conditional sentence, then what's kind of the correct choices. So kind of the multiple choice will be provided for you for the final exams. And I think that's all. So the question from me will be divided into two different topics: the conditional sentence, and also the today the preferences. So only two topics. And yes, plausibly that Ms. Elsie will also provide another questions with different topics. Thank you very much, and hopefully that you will be enjoy your final exams, and then you will aspire your dreams in the futures, and try to improve your English. And I'm sorry if you just get something beyond your expectations. I mean, you're under expectations about about the designing of our lectures, and also about my explanations about our basic concepts on understanding such a language. That's kind of my limitations, but hopefully you will have the great opportunity in the futures to practice it by yourself. So thank you, Pak Fauzan, and then Pak Adib, and then Mas Imam, Mbak Dinya, Mbak Angki, and then so hopefully that the next semester we will meet offline. You may come to our university, because there is an issue that next semester will be start offline. So probably even it's not fully offline probably, but there is a great opportunity for us to meet offline, because the situation is quite better right now. just set up the class with a very safe one, so it could be better for us to meet offline. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.